It has been a rough few years if you are a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, having season after season as a lottery team, waiting for players to develop and to hit on a couple of draft picks in order to craft a team that can look towards the playoffs. Even heading into this season, the Cavs weren't exactly expected to make any waves as a potential playoff team, with many thinking that their ceiling was the play-in tournament, and even that was seen as pretty optimistic. But things in Cleveland this year have defied any and all expectations, and it seems as though everything is clicking for them. A multitude of things have gone right for them, from their surprisingly reliable bench to some improved coaching by JB Bickerstaff, but the big story has been their big three of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. It's highly unusual for a team to have three players with at least some degree of a case for an all-star selection. It's even crazier when you consider that all of these guys are under the age of 25. In this video, I'm going to cover what these guys have been doing that makes them so special and what the outlook is for them going forward as far as building around these three. We're going to be covering a lot, so be sure to stick around until the end so that you don't miss anything. If you enjoy the video, then hit that subscribe button. Let's get right into it. So if you follow my channel, you'll know that I've done a video on both Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. This video is going to serve as more of a big picture analysis of how those two, as well as Jarrett Allen, fit together. They all have their own individual strengths, but the fascinating part about these guys is how well they work together and complement one another's strengths. The Cavs are obviously doing some very interesting stuff schematically with their lineup of Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, Lauri Markkanen, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. Their net rating clocks in at 15.2, which is the fourth highest net rating of any five-man lineup that's played at least 125 minutes this year. As a whole, this team has been pretty hard to beat. They have the third best defense in the NBA, only allowing 104.8 points per 100 possessions, and they have the fourth best net rating in the league, beating teams by 5.2 points per 100 possessions. The first thing that I want to talk about is their defense. The common gripe that people have with running lineups with two 7-footers is that you usually end up sacrificing flexibility when trying to guard the perimeter. But there's a reason that the Cavaliers don't have that issue. The reason this isn't an issue for the Cavs is that Evan Mobley is an incredibly switchable defender. Even at 7'1", he can guard ball handlers on the perimeter, he can guard wings, and he can still recover to contest shots at the rim. As a matter of fact, almost 25% of all of his minutes are spent defending the primary ball handler for the other team. That's unheard of for big men to be guarding perimeter threats like that, but Mobley is able to do it really effectively. The other reason that this works is because Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley are able to cover for one another. Here, Allen is matched up against Jaren Jackson Jr., Mobley has Clark near the opposite corner, but inches towards the paint just in case. Jackson Jr. takes Allen off the dribble, and Mobley immediately recognizes that he needs to provide help. Jackson is even able to get a good spin move on Allen, but by the time he elevates for the layup, both Allen and Mobley are able to meet him at the rim. Here, Allen is playing up high and Mobley is roaming the paint. Nurkic and Powell initiate the dribble handoff, and Allen moves towards the paint to cover Powell. Powell rises, but he's met by both Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, and they ultimately get the block. These two are an almost impenetrable wall of defense when meeting guys at the rim. When you can afford for one of your bigs to guard the perimeter without too much worry about them potentially getting beat, it allows you to eliminate space from the offense. I can't remember who exactly this quote is attributed to, so if you know, please let me know in the comments, but the quote is, "If the goal on the offensive end is to create space, the goal of defense is to take that space away." That's what the Cavs are doing with this double big man lineup on defense, and it's absolutely suffocating if you're the opposing team. So that's their defense, but what about their offense? They've got a lot to work with offensively, and starting out, we're going to talk about the Garland-Allen pick and roll. It's been really effective all season, and something that they go to fairly often. As I talked about in my last video, I love when a big man and a guard have a really good connection in the pick and roll. The Eastern Conference equivalent of the Halliburton and Rashawn Holmes pick and roll is the Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen pick and roll. The trust that these two have in each other is really apparent when you're watching them play, because more often than not, Garland is just throwing the ball to where he thinks Allen is going to be, and I'd say most of the time he's right. They make it work a lot of different ways, with Allen hitting push shots at the free throw line, finishing lobs, you name it. But one thing I do want to talk about is the fact that Jarrett Allen brings a lot more to the table than just being a rim runner and finishing lobs in the pick and roll. Jarrett Allen has actually become a super reliable post scorer. He's got really good footwork and some really nice touch around the basket. He's got a nice baby hook, and even though he does benefit from good guard play that feeds him when he has a mismatch, he's able to capitalize even when tightly guarded. He's got an absurd 7'6" wingspan, so he has no problem getting his shot off over other bigs. Allen's offensive arsenal is continuously growing before our eyes, and I think there's still tons of room for him to improve as a scorer, even though he's already come so far. Not to mention, he's also been a really good passer this season. Yeah, he's not averaging a ton of assists, but his IQ when passing out of the high post and initiating dribble handoffs is really impressive. He's also smart at kicking out to three-point shooters or passing out of a post-up to a cutter or someone receiving a screen off ball. The fact that it's something he's been able to add to his game bodes really well for his long-term success. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, of course, Evan Mobley. Aside from him being by far the best defensive rookie that we've seen since Tim Duncan, his offensive game is scary good. I don't think people truly have a full grasp of how good he's going to be. He has been phenomenal this year when posting up. He's been able to hit turnaround fades, use his footwork to maneuver around other big men, and even break out his ball handling ability on occasion. Another surprising aspect of his game is how quick his first step is for someone of his height. He's beating people off the dribble way better than I've seen any 7-footer be able to do ever. And it's not just his scoring that has me excited. It's not just the fact that he has a quick first step and really tight handles at 7'1". It's his passing game. I think one of the biggest ways to differentiate yourself as a big man is to have some level of playmaking in your arsenal. We see it with Jokic at the highest degree, but even guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, and Giannis are all really solid playmakers as big men. Evan Mobley has that kind of potential, the kind of guy that you can run your entire offense through. He's fantastic when given the ball in the post and when his teammates are constantly moving around him because he knows what passes to make to get a good bucket. It helps that he's also a really intelligent screener, so guys are able to get some space to get a shot off as a result of his screens. Here, Garland brings the ball up the floor and feeds Mobley near the high post. Evan Mobley immediately sees Gordon trying to follow Garland, and Mobley recognizes this, setting a screen on Gordon and passing to Garland, allowing Garland to take the handoff for an easy wide open look at the basket. It's this instinct both as a screener and as a passer that's going to allow Mobley to become one of the most versatile bigs in the entire NBA. And outside of their big three, they did a lot of stuff over the offseason that I really like signing Lauri Markkanen, getting Ricky Rubio, who even though he's out with an injury right now, has been really, really good for the Cavs this year. Lauri Markkanen has been able to play his role really, really well, and he's a part of one of their best lineups. They still have a guy like Isaac Okoro, who is super young, super raw, but defensively he looks like an absolute stud, and if he can iron out his offensive game, he's going to start looking really scary. There's still the question looming over them over what they should do with Colin Sexton, but whether or not Colin Sexton is a long-term part of the Cavs' plan, I still think they're going to be just fine with the building blocks that they have already. So what's the outlook for this team? Long-term, what are they shaping up to be? All of these guys are under the age of 25. Each of them has some level of an argument for an all-star selection, and Evan Mobley has an argument to be all defense as a rookie. If the Cavs keep this core three and they continue to develop together, we legitimately could be looking at the NBA's next super team. So what do you think of this Cavs team so far? Do you think that they can make a run in the playoffs? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.